Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens Oberholzer from Retire Rich and Happy.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another show, another episode of Financially Raw every Thursday at 10 a.m. So today we've got a very exciting show lined up. It's going to be our first show where we have a guest live in the studio. So our guest today is Mr. Darren Jolly, somebody that I've been working closely with in the last couple of months. And he's going to come and talk to us a little bit about debt and investing. And how do you manage both? How do you make sure that you get the balance right? What is good debt and bad debt? That might be a good topic. So, Darren, welcome. And maybe just tell people a little bit about yourself, where you come from, what your background is, and why this is so important for you, and why you're so passionate about finance and financial planning in general.
Morning, Lourens. Thanks for having me on the show. For the past 20 odd years, I've been in the financial services business, and gaining all that experience and that time of seeing people of what they need and how the industry is run on a whole, and the type of advice that people get to where they should get. And we're really going to get into looking at the debt, and so many people are sitting in that debt trap, and what retirement means, and to a lot of people who are always looking at this goal that's so far away, and you got so little time in the end to do it, and that 40-year trail of running along where they just never get out of it. So I learned over the years that people really need to get more proper advice, even a coach to an extent, and not just have products stuffed down their throat.
Yeah, I usually call that the snowball effect, because what happens to a lot of people is they have one person come and see them, they sell them a product, and then they don't see that guy again, and then they get a new person that's now going to show them the way, and then they sell him some more products, and then they get a third person and they sell him some more products, and eventually they have 10 different products, but it's not pulling in the same direction, and it's not getting them to where they want to be. Yeah. So that strategy is important. And I think we both come from that same background of seeing the shortfalls in that. Darren off air told me a little bit a story about Simply Red, him being from Manchester as well. So share with the people what you told me about how tough Mick Hucknall had it.
Yeah, man. I mean, he really did grow up poor. Money was too tight to mention. It wasn't there. I mean, we talk about sometimes debt being a problem in life, but sometimes in these cases the incomes were the problems, and there was just not enough money ever to go around. And it talks about him trying to borrow money from his brother, from his father. You go to the bank, they don't want to know. And that's pretty much what it's all about. It's just too tight to mention. Don't bring up that word money to me, because there ain't any, and nobody's offering any way out. And just so nice that he kind of pays homage back to where he came from, even though he made a lot of money in his life and became a success, that he goes back to those roots. And I think a lot of artists do that.
Yeah, I also think that what it shows is that when the people that are listening now are sitting in financial trouble, it's only a temporary thing if you make or do something about it. It doesn't have to be permanent. You don't have to always have financial trouble. Start doing something about your financial situation immediately. Not tomorrow, not Monday. Everybody wants to start on Monday. Don't wait till Monday. Start doing something today.
I fully agree with you, but you know what people get? They actually get comfortable sitting in debt. It's great, that comes in every month. I'm just comfortable, and at the end of the day, you've got to decide: am I disciplined enough to do this on my own? Do I need a buddy to help me? People don't want to admit that they've got debt, even though it's sitting there the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret, the difference between those is one way is ounces and one way is tons.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult either way. It's going to be difficult if you do something to get yourself out of it. And it's going to be difficult staying in it. You must just choose what difficulty you want to face.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, you know, going to gym as well. It's that hardest step, right, is the first day to get up and go, and then some sore muscles along the way. There's going to be some pain to grow.
Yeah. Especially today. I can barely move. So those of you who watched it on video, if I don't lengthen my arm or stretch my arm, you'll know why. It is sore. Damn it. Okay, so Darren, you're going to talk a little bit about debt and investing. Share some of your thoughts and all your experience. I mean, you've been in the industry for over 20 years as well. What have you seen? What is your thoughts on debt?
Again, the world is designed to keep you in debt. I mean, it is fully structured. Just to give you a little stat of what I've seen over the years, the world's income, we have, I think it's 0.01% of the population own 17% of the world's income.
Yes.
So there's a very, and it's just grown over the years, not the percentage wise in terms of the people that own it,
yes,
but the amount of income that is coming in. And the rich people want to keep the poor people poor. That's how they keep making money. And it's been well documented of how banks have given this advice to the wealthy clients of where they should be putting the money. And it keeps going into creating credit systems because they know all these people sitting out there need it. Well, companies need it. They need their people to come to work every day.
Yes.
They're hungry. I need my job. Just over broke, I think.
Yes, just over broke.
A well-known slogan for what job stands for.
Yes.
And it's always going to be there. It's never going to disappear.
The thing is, it's basically replaced slavery.
Yes.
Debt. It's the modern equivalent of slavery, because that's what they did in the medieval times. Is you had the landlords and you had the people living on the land, and they basically either pay tax or they were slaves to these landlords. And then they got rid of that. They created the middle class. Said no, we have to pay people a living wage. With a focus on living, not thriving wage, living wage.
Living wage.
And then they created the debt system. I mean, if you look at the monetary system in the world, it's all based on debt.
Yes.
You look at the U.S. Economy with the Reserve Bank in the U.S. What do they call the Reserve Bank in the U.S.? It popped out of my head. But in any case, so what happens is the government borrows money from the Reserve Bank to put that into the economy. So every rand or every dollar in the US economy is debt. And if you think that there's only so much money in the US economy, it's all debt and there's interest payable on that debt, there will never be enough money to pay that debt back, which means they have to create more money at debt to pay back the debt, which creates more money on debt. And it's just the spiral of debt the whole time.
The Fed.
The Federal Reserve. That's the one. Thanks, Darren.
As we can see, what we've just gone through in COVID, what they do is just print a few billion more.
More at debt, at interest.
And
it's weird, and that's a different topic I think we need to discuss, is how the monetary system has been manipulated and changed over time, going off the gold standard, creating this debt-based currency. It's fascinating once you get into that. We must have a topic on that as well. I just got a shout out on the website from Chelios. I think it's somebody that you know. It says, typically Darren will pick Simply Red as his first song. Manchester boy bleeding bright red. Thanks, Chelios. Guys, if you are listening to us on the show, please give us a shout out if you have any questions or any comments. We love to hear from you. And then also a little bit of a punt for our business. You're welcome to follow us on Retire Rich and Happy on Facebook. Go to our website, retirerichandhappy.co.za. You can follow us on YouTube. All of these shows are on video on YouTube, so you can see our bald heads on YouTube as well if you want to see us recording the show. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun as we are sharing some information as well. Yeah, so debt, it's so ingrained that it's almost impossible to keep ourselves out of it.
It is, and it's advertised wherever you look. Everyone's always offering this, offering that. And it's amazing with the banks. They will offer you the world when you've got a ton of money. When everything's going right, they're going to offer you all the credit in the world. Well, yeah, they want to keep your business. They want to, they farm out the money when you're broke and, times are hard and you go back to the bank. That's when you really need help. And you need it from the nice institution that your salary or your income or whatever, all your money goes into every month. But all of a sudden, when those times are hard, that drug, especially what we've seen now over the past, let's face it, we've been in a recession for quite a while.
Yeah,
especially in
we're
this
almost
country.
so used to it now. It's like the norm, where it wasn't always. It was like when it was 2 quarters in a row, everybody was like, we're going into a recession. Now it's the norm. We're in recession. That's just how it is.
It is, and we try and keep hold of everything that we've got. So we got to understand as well what are the differences. We got unsecured debt, and we've got secured debt, and obviously the interest rates on the unsecured debt are the highest of any kind of debt.
Yeah, I think please explain to the people who are listening the difference between unsecured and secured debt, and then why are interest rates so much higher on unsecured debt than it is on secured debt. Before you get there, we've got another message from Frikkie. Wow, over 40 years of experience in this industry in the studio. We are very privileged today. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Frikkie, for the shout out. Yes, now you make me feel old. At least I, on my own, don't have 40 years experience. Combined. Please say combined. Okay, so please share with the guys the difference between unsecured debt and secured debt.
Secured, they kind of speak for themselves, but secured debt is your house. There's an asset there. You don't pay that bond and you don't give the money back on time, they can easily come and take that asset from you, sell it. They can get some kind of return on the money, whether it's the full amount. Same with the vehicle. As opposed to the unsecured debt, your credit cards, your personal loans, your overdrafts,
clothing accounts,
store cards, everything that's sitting out there. And you'll have noticed over the years, more and more credit lines have come on you. Let's say retailers, they've got out there, they've got their own store cards, and not just their own store cards. They're offering a credit card
on their own brand,
on their own brand. And absolutely everyone is jumping on this bandwagon. We're giving you credit. We're giving you credit.
So many months to pay.
So many, and it's that instant gratification. And people have just forgotten how to save money up. If you want to go and buy a certain thing, say, okay, well, I'll have it in 6 months, or I'll have it in 3 months.
Yes.
Let me take some of these old school things that I learned growing up and put away whatever, my 1,000 Rand a month, and then I can go and buy that 3,000 Rand pair of shoes in 3 months' time. But no, I must have it straight away.
Yeah, and that's a big danger, is the life that we're living in with instant gratification. It's we don't want to wait for things anymore. It has to happen instantly. Our attention span is very short. Everything. And what I was thinking about when you spoke about advertising the banks and everything is how they picture, or they paint it with this brush of the credit is going to make your life better. So you can have whatever you've always wanted, that holiday, that child's education, whatever, if only you take out the personal loan, as if credit will improve your life. And we all know credit actually makes your life much worse. It doesn't improve your life.
It doesn't. There are some good instances that you can get credit for a certain thing. But I think also when you're planning to get credit, and there's been tons of reckless lending over the years. I've been through it. I'll hold my hands up. Show me a person who hasn't had debt, and I'll show you a kind-hearted gangster. They don't exist. But it's been cut down and regulated a heck of a lot more since the National Credit Act. but they're still out there. They're still creating.
And they just create different avenues.
Yeah.
To still get people into debt. I've seen when they do debt now, they just do the bare minimum. Like the guy just says, this is my income, this is my expenses, doesn't go into detail, and then he signs that he knows he's got enough cash flow to pay for the debt. They don't really, although the National Credit Act says that an analysis has to be done, an assessment, that's not what they do. They just want the minimum sign so that they can give the credit.
Absolutely. It's I say just going into the realms of kind of why I got out of the actual financial planning business, or let's call it an insurance broker or a financial advisor, call it whatever you want to call it,
life insurance salesman, whatever. Yeah.
I just couldn't see that anymore. And what your heart kind of desires and leads you to is to say, I've got clients sitting here, they're earning R1 million to 5-6 million rand a year, and they're still in debt. So they're not really seeing that it's an income problem. It's just, how do I manage my expenses? It's a total expenses problem and recklessness of how they're conducting their life. And maybe there are bumps in that along the way, but it's also the financial institutions. Like I say, they
makes it too easy.
You've got all this money, you're doing great, I see the salary coming in every month, so they chuck more money. You go buy a new car. Hey, I can now afford 20-30 grand a month to pay on this car, but you actually can't because you haven't taken care of securing the basis. And what kind of turned me into running into being, let's say, an expenses expert or a coach is to say, okay, well, what I've got to become now is an antivirus for your expenses.
Oh, yes,
and that's how we kind of look at it now and say, let's protect that downside. And how did you get there in the first place, and start to understand that?
Yeah. So we were talking about debt, how people get into debt. So I think share that with us, what you've seen in your experience. How do people get into these huge amounts of debt? And one of the things you said is that you get these people earning 6 million rand a year, but they're still in debt. They just have bigger amounts. So if a guy earns 30, they have 100,000 rands debt. If they're earning 6 million, they have 600,000 rands in debt. So how does that happen?
Again, I think it is that just materialistic part of the world. Some materialism that we all look at. Everything's advertised. It's in your face every single day. Everything has become easier to buy. You want to keep up with the Joneses. Got to have the new car. I've seen it in the years of doing it. People really, every single year, some guys 6 months. Colleagues of mine had to have the new car every single year. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest way to get rid of your money quickly, And it was the new BMW's come out, or the new that one's come out. I've got to upgrade. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And people, if you don't look at it in a different perspective, and let's just say the latest model of your favorite car came out. I'm not going to punt any brands, they're not sponsoring me today. That if you actually had 500,000 rand in cash sitting in a bank account, and you're looking at your income, and you say, okay, well, man, if I just upgrade this now, it's another 1,000 rand a month. It's within my budget. It's costing me 10 grand a month. That's all they see is that 10,000 rand a month. And if you actually had to go into your bank account now and take that
and buy
that lump sum of 500,000 rand and go and buy it, would you start to think about these things differently? And I think people would, but they just kind of stop in their tracks. And I can understand sometimes you need to buy a new car. It doesn't mean you have to spend a hell of a lot more. And if I buy this particular car, it's only 3,500 rand a month, but just for another 1,000 rand a month, I can just step up the ladder a little bit more, and that's going to look better in my driveway. But if I look at that, and it's just another 1,000 rand more, and before you know it, you've doubled what you actually planned on.
Yeah.
And people just get into that. And if we really think about it, Lourens, we're not taught about money in school. It's not the last thing they teach you. They don't teach you how to adapt in life.
Yeah.
They don't teach you that change is constant. So it's all about an education of where we received, what we saw from our parents, from the other people around us. You know, what were they doing? That guy might drive a fancy car and live in it, but you don't know what's happening behind closed doors.
Yes, underneath everything, what's that veneer of success?
Yeah.
What's happening? The rot underneath that veneer of success.
Absolutely.
That I've seen a lot in my 20 odd years in the industry. You get to this house, and you get these cars, and you just look at these people and you think, wow, they must be so wealthy.
Yeah,
and then when you start digging into their financial situation, that veneer comes off, and then you start seeing the rot, and they just barely clawing themselves through from month to month.
And it carries on. And we were trained that way in the insurance industry. When you're wet behind the ears. I came with my what I thought was a decent car at the time, but obviously it wasn't. But you see all the other cars around, and it's, hey, get up to this level quickly, and the first thing you do is go out and buy a new car. Because now I'm young in the business. I wasn't so, I guess, young in age as well, around about late 20s. I'm now going to rock up at these people, and they're older than me, and they own a business. And, if I don't go there in a nice car and a nice suit,
they're not going to take me seriously.
They're not going to take me seriously. And it's actually not what you drive, it's what you actually made of. And
the value.
Do this. And we've seen this. I mean, if you've ever got in debt, you can probably relate to, and you're probably in some good company. I
think everybody, if you haven't, you're not trying hard enough.
You're not trying hard enough. Yeah. Get out of your comfort zone. Go find out. Let's look at some people that have maybe made a lot of money in their life and lost it. And I made some notes last night of some celebrities and sports stars. I mean, we're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars. And let me just rattle off a little list.
Yes.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Diego Maradona.
You know how he makes most of his money now? Yeah. Mike Tyson. He has a marijuana farm. He makes millions now on selling marijuana. So, yeah.
And the odd movie part
and
here and there.
Part, yeah.
we get into. The football legend, Diego Maradona.
Geez,
John Daly, a golfer that came from absolutely nowhere. And... quite a humble guy, to be honest. I watched a documentary on him, and he's made, I think he's gambled close to 100 million.
Yes.
And he won about 50 million. So he's 50 million down on there. But, it's these guys just made stupid money. And Dennis Rodman, O.J. Simpson, Leon Spinks, Evander Holyfield, Boris Becker, Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, tennis player.
I remember her, yeah.
14 Grand Slams. Multiple Olympic medals, made over $57 million in her career.
And that's without endorsements. That's just prize money.
4 people were managing her, and I kind of picked on her specifically. And 2 of those people who were managing her, one happened to be her brother and one was her father.
Oh, my goodness,
and she ended up suing those from there.
What you're saying there is so important when people start looking at financial advice. We tend to go to friends, family members. I always talk about Piet. Piet has been doing my parents' finances, and he's doing my uncles for years and years and years. So now I'm going to listen to Piet. And at the end of the day, Piet has been screwing over the family for years.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. They're not getting proper advice and proper coaching, basically.
And that list carries on. 50 Cent, Kim Basinger, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage came to my mind as well.
Actors, but they've bounced back, but they still went through it. Marvin Gaye, Lindsay Lohan, Michael Jackson, Donald Trump.
Donald did a few.
Wesley Snipes. So Donald was clever. He figured out that loophole of filing for corporate bankruptcy instead of personal bankruptcy. But these are people, and I'll go back to saying it. It's seldom the income problem that is the problem.
Yeah.
You're able to make money. We're triple M's. We're money-making machines. And we're able to go out there, and we've got to protect that. Insurance plays a part in that. But we've still got to learn those roles of what is our relationship with money?
Yes.
What does it mean to us? And how do we save it and stop spending it all so quickly?
And that's so important. What you're saying is, what is our relationship with money? I think for too long, or too many people have such an emotional reaction to money and once we start moving into our emotions and making decisions from an emotional place, that's when we get into trouble. That's when we get excited about the new car, the new cell phone, buying the house because the Joneses have bought a new house, and that's what gets us into trouble. Emotion. We need to get to a place where we start removing our emotion from our function, what money actually means to us, and I don't think enough people actually sit down and talking about that in a relationship, a husband and wife. Sometimes the relationship to money is completely different, and they never sit down and actually talk about that. So it's important for couples to also understand what is my spouse or my partner's relationship to money against what my relationship to money is, because that creates a lot of conflict.
It does, and people often say, what is the biggest cause of divorce? Well, first it's marriage. But secondly,
100% of divorces started in marriage.
But finances play a huge part in creating a rift. One's hiding something from the other, and it depends on how you're married. Are you married in community property, out of community? Everything that builds up to it, and it's like, geez, I've gone and created this debt over here, and I've got to hide this, and it just spirals, man.
It's amazing, and especially because we don't talk about it. If we talk about it, we fight, or we don't talk about it at all. We don't sit down and understand what our partner, what's their view of money, how do they think about it, and we were not educated. And just to come back to a lot of those sports stars that you spoke about that went bankrupt, and you look at all of them, and all of them, the first thing they would do, they would never go like what's her name, Sanchez Vicaria. She would never go to a tournament without having a coach there with her, telling her, guiding her, keeping her calm,
for sure,
showing her the way to play, etc., creating strategies. But then in her finances, she didn't have a coach.
No.
She just had managers that were basically making money, closer to parasites than managers. So it's so important to have somebody. We spoke off air of a dive buddy, and I said, you need to get a debt buddy. You need to get somebody that you can run your debt by. I'm thinking of buying this, Darren. Do you think it's a good idea, so that your debt buddy can say, no, don't do that?
Absolutely. And just going back to what I said now, it's would you go and pay cash for that if you had it sitting in a bank? But have an accountability partner. Say, check this out. Was it an emotional decision? Did you get sold something or did you actually take your time, prepare, and knew you were going to make this purchase, and everything else is sorted out? And people just don't do that, and that's why you probably don't sleep well at night, because you've got all this stuff constantly weighing on your mind.
And the thing is, don't make your wife or your husband your debt buddy, or your accountability partner. That's too close. You two don't have to keep each other accountable in the sense that you want to ask her if you can buy the new car, because that's just going to lead to a fight. You two have to be a team together, and the two of you combined needs to get an accountability partner or a debt buddy or a coach or whatever we call it, so that you can go and that coach can then guide you. And on that note, if you guys want to find out a little bit more about our coaching and how we help people with their finances, from cash flow management to debt settlement to asset building, you're welcome to go to our website, retirerichandhappy.co.za, Facebook, Retire Rich and Happy, and then YouTube as well, Retire Rich and Happy. All of this are on there. You can send it and share it with other people as well. How does investing fit into it? How important is it to even if you have debt, to start an RA, for example, or to start investing in a get rich quick scheme like the Bitcoins and the what's the new one, Dogecoin? Yes. How do you mesh these two with one another? What have you seen, and what would your advice be to people?
It just seems so odd when you look at it to say why would I invest money if I've got debt? If I've got a repayment of, let's just say, your combined debt, and let's talk about unsecured debt. The others we can kind of separate that. But if you've got let's say 10,000 Rand a month going into debt and it's just not going away, and you're investing also another 10,000 Rand into an RA because your income may say, okay, you need to do that.
Yep.
It's a good tax write-off. And that there are merits to it, but I just can't see the point. How are you going to outperform? And let's talk about that wonderful thing, compound interest. The eighth wonder of the world. Well as compound interest works on your investments, it's also working on your debt.
And it's working better for the guy who gives you the credit.
Yeah, because his
getting that compound interest.
But his is guaranteed.
Yes.
You've got 16% per annum on that debt compounding. That's guaranteed.
Yes.
He's getting that every month. Where your investment, you're paying that. And
you're
again, you're hoping you're getting some kind of return, and it's beating inflation. And those type of investments we look at that are different between a lump sum investment and a recurring investment. Are those returns the same? And people don't really understand that side of things.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's maybe a good topic to talk about is should you, or what's the difference between putting money into an RA at 1,000 Rand a month or 5,000 Rand a month against having 500,000 and putting it into the market at once. So maybe expand on that a little bit just so that people get an idea of the differences, because it is, a lot of clients don't understand it. They put money in, and then a month later they want to see returns and they don't, and then they get all upset because if they put it in the bank they would have gotten their 4%, and they would have seen some growth. Now they've put it into an RA or into the market, and a month later the money's worth less than it was when they put it in, and then they get all upset and panicky about it.
Yeah, so when we look at that, when you're on a recurring investment, whether it's an RA, unit trust, endowment, whatever that type of
any
investment is,
unitized kind of investment.
Correct. Yeah. And you should actually look at it and not really look at the cash amount value. Let's talk in rand of value, but rather looking at the units that you're buying. So that's what you're buying every month on a recurring investment. And this sounds really strange, but let's just say you're committing to a 5-year endowment that people do. I'm going to save up for this. You actually want to be buying more units every month. So ergo,
for the same money.
Yeah, you want that portfolio to actually be going down in price. Quite a weird thing to think of, because you're going to buy more units, more shares, if you like.
Yeah. It's like buying and selling a product.
Yeah,
it's the same principle basically. You're not going to buy. Let's say you sell tuna cans. You're not going to buy the tuna cans when they're the most expensive. You want to get the special. You want to negotiate the price down and buy the tuna cans when they're as cheap as possible. And that's the same thing, but people don't think about it. They want to buy it when it's flying.
Yeah. They just say, I'm going to put that money in every month and build it up, and it's a savings. And the return that you get on that, and again, people just keep looking. They'll speak with their advisor, whatever. They'll check in every single month, or look at it every year rather, and see. Well, geez, I've paid in 1,000 Rand a month. I've paid in 12,000 Rand already. But hang on, there's costs associated with that in the background.
Yes.
The advisor had to make some money. The financial institution had to make some money.
Everybody needs its cut.
And the costs out of there, and wow, it's actually not gone up. I'm in the same position. So if you'd have taken that money and applied it to your debt, you would have been in a better position. And that difference between a lump sum and recurring, with your lump sum putting in any kind of figure that you get in terms of a return, are never the same. They can't be. If you invest 100,000 Rand on the 1st of January and you have the equivalent of that spread into equal payments, your 8,000 Rand a month or so, over 12 months, well, if that investment portfolio actually did 15% for the year, but all the growth came within the first quarter, the first 3 months.
You're going to lose money.
That 100,000 rand, you made money because you were already in, but with your recurring investment, you only bought in those first 3 months. You didn't catch the growth part.
Yes. And the thing is that I always say to people, when you put the money in as a once-off, you're in for the roller coaster, because then all your money is going up and down as it goes.
Yeah.
When you do recurring, as the fund goes up and down, you're buying at higher prices, lower prices.
That's it.
The problem is that people look at a fund statement or a fund fact sheet that says, in the last 12 months, this fund performed at 15%. And then they get sold on, and this is where I get upset, is that the broker, the financial advisor, sits with the client. He looks at a fund fact sheet, and then he gets him to cancel his existing retirement annuity and move it to the new company, because the fund fact sheet said that this company is performing at 50, or this fund is performing at 15%. And the only person that benefits from that is the advisor, because he's getting his commission and all of that. It's not in the client's best interest, because that fund fact sheet actually shows nothing.
No.
Because, like you said, that 15% could have happened in the last month of the year, and it will still show that it was in the whole year, and it's not doing it for the whole year.
And those fund fact sheets only relate to lump sum investments. There is not one fund fact sheet in the world, and any professional listening in the world of any institution, come and challenge me on that, because I know I've had to pull those statements for clients, and they don't exist. An actuary has to do a manual calculation
of that, your specific investment on that specific,
investment.
and they don't.
They can't, and they'll hide away from it. So whatever company tells you we're doing this, it relates to something totally different.
If you look at those graphs, what they typically do is they say, if you put 100 rand in at this point, this is what it would be worth now. And again, it's a lump sum. Although it's 100 rand,
correct,
it looks a small amount, but it's still based on the fact that you've put in 100 rand at a specific point of time, and then it grows. To get back to the debt thing, so I think you would agree with me, and that is our approach as well, is before you start focusing on building investments, take control of your cash flow first. That's the first thing you need to do. Make sure you understand where your money's coming from, where it's going, and how much you have left, and have a positive cash flow. The second thing is get rid of your unsecured debt first. So take as much cash flow as you have, pump it into that debt, get rid of that 18, 20, 22, 25% debt of yours, and then only do you start looking at investing. I always say to people, everybody wants to be an investor, but no one wants to do the groundwork to be ready to become an investor. And that is where people get hurt so badly, especially with these fads. There's the Bitcoins and the Forex trading and all of these things. I've heard of people, they go take out more money on their bonds. They max their credit cards to put money into Bitcoin. And guys, that is so dangerous. That's coming back to that, the gambler.
The gambler, let's the new trends. And unless you can make money, but if you don't have time to pay attention to it, you're not a pro in that field, you are gambling. Then you might as well just go to the local casino and choose red or black, and see which way is this gonna come out. But if you have some knowledge, great, but you're still gonna try and force that investment to outperform your debt. And it ain't gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
The odds are against you hugely. And then if you go and lose all that money in a silly type of investment, then
put you back years and years and years. Okay, I've got a new message here from Theo. So how does one start earning compound interest? So that's the question from Theo. Thanks, Theo. It's great to hear you listening to us. Darren, you wanna explain a little bit? How do you earn compound interest?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's take it just in a normal bank account. Let's say you've decided now, take some cash every month, you stick it in a particular savings account, and that money is going to get interest, and that interest then accumulates more interest on top of it. And that is, you've got simple interest. You put in this, at the end of the year, we'll give you that back. But if you just keep leaving it in there and it just carries on rolling year after year, month after month, compound interest upon interest.
Yes.
And that's how we get it on our savings, and that's how it's calculated on our debt as well. And so that's the ugly side of it, and versus the good side of it.
Yeah. So I think the thing is that the whole basis of the investment industry, looking at capital investment only, and that's basically what they've been telling people is the solution for wealth, the solution for retirement is build up capital reserves. And that whole thing is based on compound interest. Your retirement annuity is based on compound interest. That's why they keep saying to you that it's so important to start as early as possible. But what they're not telling you is the opposite side, where you also get the compound interest on the debt side. Remember, you're also paying debt. So you are or interest on the debt. So on the one side, you're getting 4, 5, 6% on your retirement annuity, but on your credit card, you're paying 18%. So it doesn't make sense. That one of the things or I talk about a lot is what's better than compound interest. And for me, there's only one thing better than compound interest, and that is compound income. Yes. If you can start building an asset that gives you a monthly income, you can roll that income into creating another capital asset, which creates another asset that generates income. You start building compounding income, of income creating asset creating income. And that's that generational wealth spiral. So Theo, if you want to find out how that works, you're welcome to go to our website. Send us an email at info@retirehappy.co.za as well, and we can explain that in a little bit more detail as well. Guys, we have run out of time, and I think we could still talk for another freaking 2 hours.
Time flies fast.
Yes.
I'm sitting here thinking, geez, how am I going to speak for an hour on a subject?
And it goes like that. So we're 10:56, and although I would love to keep chatting to Darren for another hour, but I promise you we will have him back for another show. We have to say goodbye. Otherwise, the guys from Burke Studio is going to phone me and be upset because I'm stealing other people's airtime. Thanks for joining us, guys. It was really fun having a show and chatting to Darren. Darren, thank you for being my guest on the show, and I hope to see you here again soon.
Thanks for the invite.
And I'll see all of you again next Thursday. And then please check our YouTube channel within the next couple of days, 3 to 4 days. We will have the show on the YouTube channel as well, so you can listen to it again, share it with as many people as you can. And have a great day and a great weekend coming. And enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks, guys.
Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens Oberholzer from Retire Rich and Happy.